Hi everyone, Trina here, and I think we are on Origins of Soul 4.3, and we will be getting into now the glimpses of the afterlife. And I won't be reading the entire chapter on this one, but because there's a lot of it that I really want to read and go into detail on because it's pretty cool. And I just did a quick run through and I saw some really cool information I can't wait to share with you guys. So we're going to get into it, and this is Glimpses of the Afterlife. It is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but rather only retire for a little from sight and afterwards, returning again. Nothing is dead. Men feign themselves dead and endure mock funerals. And there they stand, looking out of a window, sound and well in some strange new disguise. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So let us now look at the evidence of the continuation of the soul after death by considering the first-hand accounts of those who have died and returned. Perhaps the first written account that we have seen of somebody who died and returned from the other side is 2,500 years old, and it is found in Plato's Republic. This is a story of a Greek warrior named who was killed in battle but returned some 12 days later to find himself on top of a funeral pyre with other dead soldiers. Relates the story of what befell him during those 12 days, and his account sounds amazingly similar to modern-day reports of near-death experiences, or NDEs. Okay, so in the Greek legend, found himself out of his body in a place where many souls travel through various passageways that led from earth to the other side. This was very similar to the dark tunnels that many people who have died and returned report seeing in account. When these souls arrived, they were judged by divine beings who could see at a glance in some sort of display all the things that the soul had done during its earthly life. This is the life review that so many near NDEs or near-death experiencers report. Was not judged. However, instead, he was brought before a council that informed him that he had been chosen as a messenger between the heavenly realms and the people of earth. He was to return to earth and tell the living what he had seen. Once was back, he had no memory of how he had returned. He merely woke up and found himself on the funeral pyre. Plato began his story that way. So, okay. Then told us about the souls who were lined up to choose their next life. In this group, he saw the Greek hero Odysseus. He was truly a wonderful sight to watch, and it was wonderful to see how each soul selected its life. A sight at once melancholy and ludicrous and strange. The experience of former lives generally guided the soul's choice. It also happened that the soul of Odysseus had drawn the last lot of all. When he came up to choose, the memory, former sufferings had so abated his ambition that he went about a long time looking for a quiet, retired life, which with great trouble he discovered lying about and thrown contemptuously aside by others. As soon as he saw it, he chose it gladly, and said he would have done the same if he had even drawn the first lot. Hypnotherapy reveals the journey of the soul. This is information that I know to be true, and I find very, very fascinating, so I can't wait to read this to you guys. While this account is astonishing, what is even more remarkable is that modern hypnotherapists, Michael Newman, Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, have all described clients who have experienced the same kind of events while under hypnosis. Dr. Newton is a master hypnotherapist and an author of 4 insightful books on the afterlife. Dr. Weiss is a psychiatrist and an author of several best-selling books on the subjects, including accounts of clients who have reunited as soulmates and healed long-lasting emotional issues using past life therapy. His books are verbatim testimony of the power of love in transforming our lives. Hypnotherapist Dolores Cannon has also conducted over 1,000 between life and past life regressions, exploring the mechanisms behind the scenes that guide the soul in each life. She authored 19 books, some of which are dedicated to the cycle of dying, being in heaven, and then choosing to return to the earth. Newton's entry into the world of metaphysics, like Weiss, happened quite by accident. Both therapists discovered that by using hypnotherapy, they could get into the root of their clients' problems, which stemmed from traumas in their past lives. I know this is true. I've seen this before. Newton had his first glimpse into the afterlife after he was instructed a female client to go back into a time when her problem first started. To his complete amazement, she began to relate a past life when she had been a male lawyer in New Orleans during the 1930s. In that life, her original soul contract had been to protect the innocent from the mafia. But he compromised his integrity out of greed and began working on behalf of the criminals instead of his clients. Eventually, the mafia framed him, and in despair, he took his own life. Stunned by the turn of events, Newton then instructed his client to see what happened after he died. To his astonishment, Newton heard an account of the deceased lawyer's fate as he was taken to the other side. First, the lawyer was met by his spirit guide and went through a life review. Realizing that he had failed to live up to the moral commitments that he had made for that life, he was sharply disappointed with himself during his life review. The lawyer also realized that he would have to return in another life to learn his lesson all over again. Newton's client emerged from hypnosis. She realized that she had once again started to fall into the same pattern of letting greed and ambition take over her ethics. This session allowed her to see and address the many problems that she had in her current life and make a critical new course correction. That's the key, course correction. Newton was so intrigued by this experience that he soon began talking to other clients and taking them back into their former lives. In those past lives experiences, he would follow the soul over to the other side after the person died. He became fascinated with the descriptions of the landscapes of heaven, and he discovered how the roots of many of our present emotional problems are found within our soul's past lives. Over time, Newton became focused on discovering the mechanisms that steer our lives and the specific features of the afterlife. In journey work, the work that I do, this is what happens. You can go into the body, you can go into past lives, you can do just about anything you can imagine or need to do. And it's such a beautiful natural process. You're basically using your imagination, and you don't have to go really, really deep into trance to get the same effects. So a lot of this work can be done semi-conscious, which is very powerful and beautiful because it can release things that you've been holding within your system, in your cells, in your structure for potentially hundreds or thousands of years. So this is a very powerful healing tool and a very powerful gift that you have, and it's very organic and natural to your being. It's just the same thing you did when you were a little kid and you used to dream and imagine. You can literally heal your whole entire body through these realms of light trance and deeper trance and hypnotherapy. So there is so much that we can do that we just yet don't quite understand. So with that, some of Newton's clients also reported going to a place called the Ring of Destiny. It described an enormous bubble sphere surrounded by a shimmering wall of light, which curves and screens with curved screens. The screens transmute a panoramic view of the soul's upcoming lifetime. The Ring of Destiny is overseen by very advanced spiritual beings known as the Lords of Karma, who allow the soul a preview of its possible life choices. In Eastern wisdom, they call the Lords of Karma the Maharajas, or great souls. They are the ones who carry out the practical working out of the Lipkas, or the keepers of the karmic records. Those masters who are aware of the progress that each soul is making from lifetime to lifetime. So this is another description of our spirit guides and the councils that we meet with before we incarnate to help instruct us and to help us choose our lessons. And we even choose our families and our parents and our geographical locations, and all these things was what I saw. I knew who my parents were before I was coming in, and I knew my brother and my sister, and I knew all of these things in when I was going over my contract. And I saw that in a session because I didn't have that awareness of that part. I remembered being there before, and I remembered being in the higher heavenly realms, but I didn't remember the contract part till much later in my life. But the other part, I remembered from the time I was like 3 years old, of being in another dimension and a heaven prior to coming into earth. And I've always had some kind of a memory of that. So, okay. So, mystically, these divine beings are connected with karma and the law of retribution, for they are the recorders or the analysis who impress on the, to us, invisible tablets of the astral light, the great picture gallery of eternity, a faithful record of every act and every thought of man, of all that was and all that ever will be in the phenomenal universe, as said in the Isis Unveiled. This divine and unseen canvas is the book of life. The Lapika the project into objectivity from passive universal mind, the ideal plan of the universe upon which the builders reconstruct the cosmos after every pralaya. For simplicity, we may call them the lords of karma. Clients report that even before entering the ring of destiny, the soul has already decided, with the help of its guides and a council of elders, where it wants to work on the next lifetime. Based on this, the Lapkyas, or master souls who operate the ring of destiny, choose 2 or 3 possible scenarios where the soul might accomplish its goals. Let's imagine for a moment that the person wants to have a lifetime dedicated to self-expression through music. The soul might be given a choice of 3 different lifetimes, each with its own positive and negative challenges. The first might be a classical pianist in England, for the child of a wealthy musical couple. In this life, she would have the money, support, education, and opportunity for a successful musical career. But her emotional life might be rather distant and unsatisfied because of her career-minded parents. Her second choice might be as a poor Latino boy in the ghetto of Los Angeles, a child with a broken home and little money, but a deep feeling of compassion and angst. This child might be destined to be discovered on the streets and become a superstar, but then he would have to deal with the temptations of drugs, fame, and success, as well as the newly rich but emotionally broken family. Perhaps the third choice might be as a black child in Africa, and in that life the boy or girl would never be rich or famous, but he would have the support of a strong, loving community and the chance to become a shaman as well as a musician. So every life has its pros and its cons, and no life is without its challenges. There are many roads to the same destination. The role of free will. Over the course of thousands of hypnotherapy sessions, Newton discovered that he could place his clients into a deep, somnambulistic state of trance, wherein a person did not recall what was said, even after he or she had returned into the normal waking consciousness. Cannon also perfected this method of putting her clients into a deep, state of hypnotherapy that would allow them access to detailed memories of their former lives. Both teachers have now trained hypnotherapists all over the world in these past life regression techniques, and the consistency of these between life reports seamlessly corroborative, no matter what the dominant culture or religion of the client may be. Subjects who have been regressed uniformly report that in the ring of destiny they can control the moment on the screens with their minds. They can slow down the scenes of possible lifetimes, or they can speed them up. They can move these panoramic scenes backwards and forwards, stopping at major turning points along the way. These are the points where the most important decisions are made. Some people report seeing lines of energy converging along various places upon the screens, as if they are traveling along the corridors of time. Each soul has the power to enter a scene by freeze framing it, so that it can experience the scene in more full detail. This phenomena accounts for the moments of deja vu that most of us have experienced. Wow. That would be what deja vu would be when we previously viewed our incarnation. That's profound. That is really profound because that's exactly what it feels like. Wow. Okay. This is why we feel the phenomena for the moments of deja vu that most of us have experienced at one time or another in our waking life. Why certain experiences feel so familiar to us? It's because we have previewed them before. In the viewing room of the Ring of Destiny. Here is one such account by a woman who suffered a stroke in 1976 that was precipitated by a brain tumor. In this excerpt, she is already with her spirit guide. She tells her guide that she would like to see how she came to select this particular life, and her guide then shows her the scene. Seated in what seemed to be a waiting area, I observed that there were 5 beings around me. 2 of them were in a teaching capacity and were strong spiritual beings, and 3 of them were lesser spiritual beings. They were the guardian angels, or whatever, and the 3 lesser ones were there to learn, sort of like angels in training. In this mortal environment, I saw that I was making all the decisions for my life, the things that I would choose to go through. These were the things that I wanted to accomplish in order to learn various lessons. There were different choices available to me. I knew, for example, that I was going to be the oldest of the children in my family, that there was a choice between 3 fathers and 2 mothers. I would have learned equal lessons from all of them. I knew that I would have a physical crisis and that I would be miraculously healed. Whoa. And that I would have a second health crisis, which I would survive. My life on earth would be prolonged. I understood by living so as to be in a helping capacity, helping others. Here is another account from Dr. Newton's files, which I have condensed for briefivity. In this hypnotherapy session, the person is already in the Ring of Destiny. After you have made the decision you want to come back to Earth, what happens next? Subject: well, my trainer and I agree when the time is right to accomplish things, I send out my thoughts. My messages are received by the coordinators who actually assist us in previewing our life possibilities at the ring. Dr. Newton: all right, let's go to the ring together. On the count of 3, when I'm finished with my count, you will have the capacity to remember all the details of this experience. Are you ready to go? 1, 2, 3. Your soul is now moving towards this space of life. Selection: explain what you see. Subject: I am floating towards the ring. It's circular, a monster bubble. There is a concentrated energy force. The light, it's so intense. I'm being sucked inward through a funnel. It's a little darker. The ring is surrounded by banks of screens. I am looking at them. They appear as walls themselves, but nothing is really solid. It's all elastic. The screens curve around me, moving. Dr. Newton: what happens next? They are not reflecting anything yet. They shimmer as sheets of glass, mirrors. I feel a moment of quietness. It's always like this. Then, it's as if Someone flipped a switch on the projector. In a panoramic movie theater, the screens come alive with images, and there is color, action, full of light and sound. I'm hovering in the middle, watching the panorama of life all around me. Places, people. I know this city. It's New York. Dr. Newton. I'll come back to New York in a few minutes. Right now, I want you to tell me what is expected of you in the ring. Subject. I'm going to mentally operate the panel. A scanning device is in front of the screen. It's as if I'm in a cockpit of an airplane. I know it sounds crazy, but I will help the controllers change the images on the screen by operating the scanner with my mind. My commands are registered on the panels so I can track the action. Why are you doing all this? Asked Dr. Newton. Subject. I am scanning. The stops are major turning points in my life's path. Ways involving important decisions, possibilities, events which make it necessary to consider alternative choices in time. The lines of energy are roads with points of colored light as a guidepost which I can move forward, backwards, or stop. Dr. Newton. All right. You're moving along the track. You're scanning the scenes and you decide to stop. Tell me what you do then. Subject. I suspend the scene and on the screens so I can enter into it. Now I have direct access to the action. Dr. Newton. In what way? Do you become a person in the scene, or does your soul hover overhead while people are moving around? Subject. Both. I can experience what life is like with anyone in the scene, or I can just watch them from any vantage point. Part of me stays at the controls, so I can start up the scene again and stop it at any time. Dr. Newton. Can you divide your soul energy? Subject. Yes, and I can send thoughts back to myself. Of course, the controllers are helping too, as I go in and out of the scenes. Dr. Newton. It seems to me when souls are in the ring of destiny, they use time almost like a tool. Subject. As spirits, we do not use time subjectively. Things and events are moved around and become objects in time. But to us, time is uniform. When making contact, in the ring in viewing future lives, the soul in residence is put on hold for a moment. It's relatively short. We don't disturb life cycles when tracking through time. My choices of life, environments are not unlimited. As I said, I probably won't be able to see all of the scenes at one time, only segments. Because of what they don't show you, there is a risk attached to all body choices. Dr. Newton. If one's future destiny is not fully preordained, as you say, why this space called the Ring of Destiny? Subject. Oh, there is destiny, all right. The life cycles are in place. It's just that there are so many alternatives which are unclear. Profound, right? Mirrors, tunnels, wormholes, stargates. I've seen them all. The molecule is where I saw the mirrors. So this again is confirmation that going through these tunnels and into these reflective mirrors and into these memories, visions, potentials, we're going into our own genetic code We are traveling into our own book of life. We are going into our own library. Sorry, I lost my voice there. So what these people are describing is something that I have seen, and you literally do have access to these things within your own body. Nothing that you need to understand is outside of you. Every single bit of this is inside of you. Everything that has ever hurt you, harmed you, scared you, traumatized you, everything is recorded within your book. And your book is your genetic code. And that genetic code has a specific vibration that is unique to only you. And it is unique in its essence because of the way it was formed throughout eons of time. So I thought that was profound, and the mirrors and the tunnels, all of that was mind-blowing to me. I've also seen some very powerful information regarding sex and the unions of sex, and having orgasm in different aspects or parts of the body creates in different rays of creation. Rape and violent sexual acts create lower negative aspects of creation. Every action upon this plane has an equal and opposite reaction. So with that, those are things that we've never been taught. And I can tell you what, try to get back to the sacredness of sex, because sex is one of our most powerful magics that we use, and we didn't even know what we were doing it. So when you are in a sexual experience and you have an orgasm, you are producing a seed of life, a seed of light, and it literally can seed an entire universe. So we need to become aware of what we're creating during sexual unions, and I would suggest do the best you can to keep those energies guarded, sacred, and filled with utter, absolute bliss, favor, joy, and extremely powerful love. Love, love, love. It truly is the strongest force of the universe. And think about it. When we express love on this planet, 90% of the time, it's during sex. So with that, understand the power of it, because we are creating with every atomic cell within our being. That's powerful. And when we have an orgasm, it's an atomic reaction. And I'm sure y'all know what that feels like. It feels atomic. So it's accurate. It's atomic. So very powerful energy with the sexual act. So make sure that you come into some type of balance and happy harmony within your sexuality. So hopefully you're not creating a lot of dark, dense negativity, because that darkness you will have to deal with when your time here is done. So I think that's a beautiful thing that we need to talk about and get a little bit more comprehension about. It's the power of us as sexual beings and what that might possibly entail, because I think that we don't know the half of it. So that's just my gut feelings. So I love you. I'm going to go into more accounts after this. This is getting kind of, about 33 minutes. So I will wrap this up, and we'll see you on the next one. Much love, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.